Well, life moves on. It never stays still. But what's the secret? The secret meaning to life. Last week we looked at the passage of time, uh, but that's no use if we're not alive to enjoy it. What is life? Defining life seems quite hard. Is it just biological? Is there an emotional side to it, a spiritual side to it? All of this stuff is important. Where do we go from when we're thinking about the passage of time into the secret of life? That's what we're going to look at today, and Dave's going to walk us through that.
Yes, thanks, Steve. Bertrand Russell had just a wonderful view of human beings because he said you're a blob of carbon floating from one meaningless existence to another.
I know how he feels.
Yeah, it's, life is more than that. And we've got to work out what life is. And, what is it? Pepsi Max, other Cokes are available. Live life to the full. Well, we are going to look at that. But James Taylor, who obviously is one of your favorite singers, chilled back hippie, he thinks he knows what the secret of life is. So again, we're going to play, not the whole song, we'll play part of one of his more famous songs, and then you can come back and we'll discuss it.
Oh, the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time.
Okay, Dave, not quite my favorite singer. I like people who are a little bit more edgy about what life might be throwing up at us. He seems pretty James Taylor chilled. What does this song say about life and the secret of it?
Well, to be honest, if I had to rely on James Taylor's understanding of the secret of life, I'd be pretty depressed, because as far as I can see, he says it's enjoying the passage of time. So he's saying, hey, man, just let it flow by, just chill, just relax, put on a James Taylor album, have a glass of wine, just enjoy it, man, just enjoy it. And then he's like, you're sliding down, you're sliding. I'm not sure I want my life to be a big slide.
Well, no, look, Dave, the passage of time makes everything slide down from about the neck downwards. But he also talks about love in this song. What does it say about love? And do you agree with the mighty James Taylor?
No, he says something that at first you listen to it. So the secret of love is in opening up your heart, and you go, wow, man, that's profound. And then you say, okay, what does that mean? And actually it means nothing. I mean, does it mean being open to people? What does it mean? Does it mean being, emotionally connected, disconnected? It's okay to feel afraid, but don't let that stand in your way, because anyone knows that love is the only road. I mean, it just sounds great, except he actually doesn't define what love is. And I think that's where Christianity has an enormous advantage, because we are given a very specific definition of love. Whereas I think in our culture, love is one of those words that's used, but nobody can define, and therefore it becomes meaningless, a bit like life. Life is meaningless because we can't define what love is.
Well, that's interesting, because do you think, I mean, the song's sort of nice and dreamy, but do you think it's really an optimistic message that life is just a ride sliding down? I don't like that image at all, especially as I get older. I think I want to check out of that. What's going on there? Why does he think that's an optimistic message?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, do you have, big amusement parks in Perth? Do you go to them?
I'm aware of such amusement parks. Yes,
you are aware of such things. It's like you can go to these amusement parks and you could have a nice, gentle slide down into oblivion, is my view of James Taylor's thing. Or you can, I think this is more realistic for me, that you have, the roller coaster, you go up and down, and it's sometimes terrifying, sometimes exhilarating. To me, that's much more about what life is. And I also think that life has a destination.
Yeah.
The roller coaster, you just end up back where you started, or in James Taylor's world, you just slide down into oblivion. I think there's much more to life than that. And
yeah, well, it's interesting. Let's flip from James Taylor to another great sage of this world, Einstein. He said he could never understand it all, as in all of what's life's going on about. If Einstein couldn't understand it, what chance Dave Robertson understanding what's going on?
yeah, it's interesting again, because, you know, occasionally I get, I mean, you won't believe this, but occasionally I get people who say, oh, you think you know it all. And we all don't like a know-it-all, you know. Now, my way of thinking about that is I don't know it all, but I do try to understand. And I think understanding is absolutely crucial. And I find it quite bizarre that people say, well, we don't want to understand. We don't want to understand. I want to understand. I know I can't know it all, and I know I will never understand it fully, but I do want to understand more. And I think we should seek to understand. I mean, we've come into this new year, and I think a lot of people are just saying, that's 2020 gone. It's gone. Great. Now let's just get on with life in 2021. And I'm saying, well, what if James Taylor's slide turns into a helter-skelter? You know, what?
Well, the fact is, Dave, psychology clinics are full. 2021 is just a myth anyway. If 2020, there's no real break in time for a calendar. Things just keep going in time. So what's to say 2021 is going to be any better? It could be like a roller coaster, couldn't it?
Yeah, and it could be worse. It could be, I mean, you know, Taylor goes on about some kind of lovely ride. Well, no, the Bible, I think, is much more realistic. It talks in Psalm 23, for example, you can go through the valley of the shadow of death, or, you know, you can be beside still waters. And I think life will constantly have all these different things. I do think, I'm going to ask you to read a verse from John chapter 10, what Jesus said, because I do think this is the secret of life. It's not gliding slowly down into oblivion. I think it's this. So read it.
I love this verse. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, which sounds the opposite of a nice slow slide down. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. What is Jesus saying there?
I think he's looking and he's saying to people, yeah, you've got life in some degrees. We talked at the beginning about biological. Yeah, you're alive. You're not dead in that sense. You've got family connections. You've got different things. You enjoy things within life. But he's basically saying you ain't seen nothing yet. I've come to give you real life. And that is, it is the spiritual, but it is everything. When Jesus says he gives us everlasting life, he's not just saying spiritually, he's talking about everything. And I honestly think that that's what we need to be finding. That's what we need to be looking for. If you're a Christian, that's what you've got, and we need to start living it, you know. And if you're not a Christian, you need to find it, because there's nothing like this.
I know. That's a great way to end it. Dave, last week we had time. This week we've got the secret of life. Next week, Judgment Day, just to put a nice gloss on it.
Yeah, it's, I mean, honestly, sorry, not just because I'm a Scottish Presbyterian, I love Judgment Day, but you'll see why next week. Please do come along next week. And, you know, you've had time, you've had the secret of life, you get Judgment Day. I mean, hey, we're really going with the light stuff to start the year, but I hope it's worth it.
Yeah, we'll see you next week on Judgment Day, unless Judgment Day comes first.